$356.66. That is the monthly check a 20% VA disability rating pays in 2026. And here's the strange part nobody warns you about. Your spouse and your kids add nothing to it, not $1. At 20%, a married veteran with 3 children gets the exact same check as a single veteran with none. But you are sitting one single rating step away from the line where that completely changes. Because at 30%, your family finally counts. A married veteran with a child who reaches 30 jumps to $666 a month, nearly double the 20% check. Hold that number, because the whole question today is whether you should chase it.
I'm Emma, and that jump is the entire story of a 20% rating. 20 is not a destination, it is a launch pad. You have already won service connection, the genuinely hard part, and you are one rung below the rating that finally pays for your family.
Lay out the stakes, Emma, because that gap is the whole episode.
At 20%, the dependent add-on simply does not exist yet. It switches on at 30. So for a veteran with a family, the distance between 20 and 30 is not one small rung. It is the difference between a flat check and a check that actually feeds the household.
And that gap is not abstract. For a veteran raising kids on a tight income, the difference between a flat 20% check and a 30% check that finally counts the household can be the difference between getting by and a little breathing room.
Fenrir here, and let me push back before anyone runs off to file. Higher is not automatically better. Chasing a number your medical record cannot support is exactly how veterans lose the rating they already have. We are going to be honest today about who should push and who should not.
Hi all, Grace. And the strategist's piece is this. Before you decide whether to climb, you need to know what 20% already hands you, because it is much more than the check. Walk away from it ashamed, and you forfeit doors you never knew were open.
A viewer sent in the exact question driving this whole thing. Fenrir, read it out, word for word.
Here it is, exactly as written. I'm at 20% with a wife and 2 kids. Is it worth pushing for a higher rating, or am I fine where I am?
By the end of this, you will have a real answer, with the dollars laid out on the table. So let us start with what 20% actually pays, straight from the VA's own page.
Let me put the real figure down first. In 2026, effective December 1st of 2025, 20% pays $356.66 a month. Across a year, that is about $4,280, and it carries the same 2 strengths the lower tiers do. First, it is completely tax-free, no federal and no state income tax. So compared to wages, it is worth more than the same number on a paycheck because nothing comes out of it.
And it does not sit still. Every year, the VA applies a cost of living increase, the same COLA that lifts Social Security, so the 20% check climbs with inflation instead of shrinking against it.
Okay, but here is the limitation, and we are not going to soften it. At 20%, your dependents still do not raise the check. That add-on does not arrive until 30. So a married veteran with kids at 20 gets the same flat figure as a single veteran, and you do not have to take our word for it. This is the VA's own rate page. 20% pays $356.66 right there in the table, and the note above it says it plainly. If you have a 10 to 20% rating, you will not receive a higher rate even if you have a dependent spouse, child, or parent.
And here is the strategist's read on that flat number. It is double the 10% check, which is real, but the dependent ceiling is the whole reason the climb to 30 matters so much. The cash story of 20% is not really the 356. It is how close you are to the line where your family starts counting.
And one honest note on the number itself. Because it is flat below 30, a veteran supporting 4 people takes home the identical 20% check as a single veteran with none. That can feel deeply unfair, and it is exactly the gap that closes the moment you cross into 30.
We will get to that line, and the math is going to surprise people. But before anyone decides to climb, you need to see what 20% already hands you, because a lot of it has nothing to do with the monthly check. Let us go around the table, real quick, because this next part matters to you. If any of this is helping, tap that like button, then hit subscribe and ring the bell so the next one finds you. Both are free and take about a second, but they tell the algorithm to show this to one more person who needs it. Quick roundtable, because this part you share with every service-connected veteran 10 or 20. I will name what a 20% rating already unlocks, and you tell me why it matters. Emma, start with the one worth more than the check.
Healthcare. A 20% service-connected rating puts you in VA Priority Group 3. You are enrolled near the front of the line, and for the condition that is service-connected, your care comes with no copay. For a veteran who actually uses it, that single door can beat the monthly check.
Then the big one-time door, the VA Home Loan Funding Fee. When you buy with a VA loan, that fee is a one-time charge that can run into the thousands. A veteran receiving service-connected compensation is exempt from it entirely. A 20% veteran and a 100% veteran are both exempt, full stop.
There is also special monthly compensation, the level called SMC-K. It pays about $140 a month and stacks on top of your basic rate for any rating from 0 to 100%. It is not automatic, it is for a specific kind of loss, but the 20% ceiling does not block it.
And the state layer, which I will fence in because it varies. Your state, separate from the federal VA, may open property tax breaks, vehicle benefits, or license discounts to service-connected veterans, and some key off having a rating at all. So check your own state. Do not assume.
So that is the floor at 20%. Healthcare in Priority Group 3, the funding fee waiver, a possible SMC add-on, and a separate state layer. None of it is the check. All of it rides on the rating, and not one piece is automatic. You file for each.
That is what you already own at 20%, the same doors we would point any service-connected veteran toward. Now to the part that is unique to your tier, the one rung up that changes the cash entirely. Let us put real numbers on the 30% line. Here is where the 20% story becomes its own thing. At 30%, for the first time, the VA pays you more for the family you support. Emma has been holding the sharp question on this one, so put it to us.
Yes, and it is exactly what our viewer is asking. He is at 20 with a wife and 2 kids. What would climbing that single rung actually put in his pocket?
Start at the top with what he has now. 20%, $356.66 a month, and his wife and kids add nothing to it. That is line 1, and it is the same whether his family is 2 people or 6.
Now climb one rung. 30% for a single veteran already pays $552.47. That is a big step up on its own, before family even enters the math. But this is where 30% earns its name for a family. Add his spouse, and it rises to $617.47. Add one child on top, and it reaches $666.47. The family that counted for 0 at 20 now adds real money.
Run the difference, because that is the decision. Going from 20% to 30% for this veteran with a spouse and a child is about $310 more every month. That is roughly $3,700 a year, and it repeats every year the rating holds.
And notice what actually changed. His disability did not suddenly double. The rating crossed one line, 30%. And the VA started counting the people who depend on him. That is the whole reason this tier is a decision and not just a number.
And do not read that jump as a one-time bonus. $310 a month is roughly $3,700 a year. And because it rides with the COLA, it grows over time. Hold that rating for a decade, and the climb from 20 to 30 quietly returns well over $35,000 to that household.
So $310 a month is the prize on the table. The question is whether this veteran can actually reach 30% and whether he should even try. That is not a cheerleading answer, it is an honest one, so let us have it.
So here is the honest fork, and I am the one who gets to be the skeptic. $310 a month is real, but you do not file for an increase because you want it. You file because your record supports it. Those are very different things.
Push if your condition has genuinely gotten worse since they rated you, or if there is a secondary condition connected to it that was never claimed. That is not gaming anything. That is correcting an underrating. For a family veteran sitting right under 30, that climb is worth real effort.
And here is the structural piece. The VA does not just add your ratings together, it combines them with its own formula, so two 20% conditions do not make 40. We did a whole episode on that math, and it is exactly why a second properly claimed condition is often how a veteran actually reaches 30.
Here is what that looks like in real life. Say a veteran sits at 20 for a knee, and over the years his back started going because of the altered gait, but he never filed for it. Add that back condition properly connected as a secondary, and the combined rating can cross 30. That is not gaming anything, it is claiming an injury that was always service-connected.
But here is the other side, and I mean it. If your 20% is accurate and stable, you are not obligated to chase a bigger number to satisfy anyone. An increased claim means a fresh exam, your time, and the small but real chance the examiner sees it differently. A stable, correct 20 is a fine place to stand.
So the verdict is not push or do not push. It is this. File when your body and your record support it, especially if you have a family waiting on the other side of 30, and never file just because a comment section dared you. When you do file, it is one form, and let me show it to you.
It is VA Form 21526EZ, the same application for disability compensation you used the first time. An increase runs through the very same paper. Let me put the real form on the screen, and section 1 is where it opens, with who you are.
Box 2 is your name, box 3 is your social security number. But stop on box 5, because this is the one that trips people. Your VA file number is not automatically your SSN. Pull any prior VA letter, the file number is printed on it, and the wrong number delays the whole claim.
One form, the same one, whether it is your first claim or the increase that finally crosses you into 30. So let us close by turning all of this into a clear decision you can actually make. So here's the reframe, said plainly. 20% is not a ceiling, it is a launchpad. You already hold service connection in writing, the hardest thing to win, and you are one well-supported claim away from the rating that pays for your family.
And there is a quiet protection most people miss, your effective date. The day your service connection started is locked in. If you file an increase and it is granted, that history is already established, which protects the back pay you could be owed. Sitting at 20 keeps that anchor in the water.
So the strategist's verdict, split clean. If you have a family and a medical record that genuinely supports more, the climb from 20 to 30 is one of the best paying moves in the whole system, and it runs through one form. Make that climb.
And the skeptic's other half, just as real. If your 20 is accurate and your condition is stable, do not manufacture a claim to chase the number. Stand on a solid 20 and claim every door it already opened, the healthcare, the waiver, the rest. That is not settling, that is being smart.
So let me put the real stakes on the board for the family veteran this episode is for. Stay at 20 and the family adds nothing, $356. Reach 30 with that same family and it is $666. Same veteran, one rung, almost double.
And the gap between those two bars is not luck, and it is not even a worse injury. It is a rung you climb only when your record can carry you there. For a lot of family veterans at 20, it absolutely can.
And whichever way you decide, do not leave the floor unclaimed. Climb to 30 or stand at 20, the healthcare, the funding fee waiver, and the rest are yours right now. Every one of them is waiting on a form you have probably not filed yet.
If you forget every figure today, keep this. 20% is a launchpad, not a label. The check is flat, but the door above it pays for your family, and the door behind it is already open. Erica, take us out and put the question to them.
Here is what I want you chewing on, and drop it in the comments. If you are at 20% with a family, is your record telling you to climb to 30 or to stand where you are and claim every door you already own? Here is the one thing to carry out of today. 20% pays $356 a month. Your family adds nothing yet, but you are one rung below 30, where they finally count. A family veteran who reaches 30 can jump by about $310 a month.
My favorite number is the gap. The same family that counts for 0 at 20 is worth real money at 30, taking a married veteran with a child from 356 to 666. Same person, one rung.
And the thing I will not let go of is the honesty. Only climb if your record supports it. A stable, accurate 20 is a strong place to stand, and it already opens healthcare, the funding fee waiver, and more.
My move for you this week. Pull your rating decision and your medical records and ask one question, honestly. Has anything gotten worse, or is anything connected and unclaimed? If yes, that is your path to 30.
And right before we say goodbye, if you want more like this, hit like and subscribe. It costs you nothing, and it is the single biggest thing that builds this series into something bigger. Now take what you learned and go make it count. This is Professor Erica, signing off.